Privileged today on Turf Business TV. I'm joined by Dougie Robertson from West Ham United. Dougie, thanks for taking time out today and joining us. We can just start with a little bit about your kind of background and how you got into Turfcare. Was it a passion or was it kind of happenstance?
It was quite funny, really. I should have got involved in the building trade through my parents had a building company, and there was a shift in just the global economy at the time, and suddenly my dad said to me, "When you're not joining the building trade, find something else." And at the time, I was probably 13 years old, done my choices at school, etc. And then we moved into school work experience. Went to 2 weeks work experience at a golf course. I was fortunate enough that they offered me an apprenticeship when I left school. From there, we all know about how the YTS schemes and used to work. So at the end of 2 years, it was deemed you can leave. We'll get another cheap, easy labour in. And then I walked into the Scottish Rugby Union. Spoke to, at the time, I didn't realise who it was, a gentleman called Bill Elwood, who was the head groundsman and stadium manager for the Scottish Rugby Union. Spoke with him, introduced myself, sold myself basically, and I was fortunate I got a job there. And I had 3 fantastic years at the Scottish Rugby Union. Still got some very, very good friends up there now. And then the job at West Ham came along. I was advertised in what at the time was the groundsman. Put my name forward, got an interview, and then moved down end of '97. We were just chatting there prior to filming. First game certainly memorable. And the floodlights went out and the game was abandoned.
And you survived.
Yeah, still there. So and from then on, it's just been great. There's a non-stop roller coaster, I think, would be the best description of how fast and continual football has become and taken over your life. Not just my life, your family's life, everything, because you are bound by the football calendar, really.
And the calendar's a bit different this year. How are you finding the differences?
It's been a big challenge for everyone. Premier League football, the lads are great on all the clubs. You can pick the phone up, you can chew a bit of fat with them, you can discuss whatever, and it never goes any further. And it's been a big challenge this year, from having split teams because of COVID restrictions, to becoming a ball boy on a match day. And I think everyone as a group of individuals have just dug in and got the job done. But it's certainly been a long season.
And you're not responsible for the stadium, are you? You've got the training ground.
No, so my role within the club, we've got 3 training venues. We've got a community site at Beckton, and then we work very closely with James Williams and his team at the London Stadium that do a great job there. So.
Okay, so how many surfaces are you looking after in terms of pitches?
Surfaces, we are 12 full-size pitches, some mini pitches, obviously AstroTurfs, both indoors and outdoors. We're looking after kids from 9-year-old when they first play their games with us, through to the first team. Obviously, the women's team are now part and parcel of the football club, which have been 3 years now, 4 years. The different challenges that all the age groups bring together. The women's team, they play at Dagenham and Redbridge Football Club, which is a conference side. It's only 2-3 minutes from the first team's training ground. So we've had staff in there this morning working, getting ready for their game tonight. It's just a non-stop challenge now. And
are you having to maintain bubbles of teams, or is it?
Yeah, it's part of the team's tested, and the other half's not. So there's a difference in tea breaks, who can move where. Certainly more inside the actual building at the training venue, which is obviously the red zone, as we're treating it. Out on the sports pitches, there's distances that need to be observed, and even down to where originally you'd send 2 people on a buggy to go and collect something. It's now, well, you can't really be side by side on that buggy. You need to be, 2 machines, or 1 person walks, and just be more aware of what you're doing, rather than work that you just used to take for granted.
And is that slowing everything down?
Yeah, it has slowed everything down. And also then you'll get the odd comment of, well, why is it 2 machines to go and do? Why is it, why is this not being done at this speed? Why can't it used to be a one-man job? And it's so difficult to explain how football now works, with the close contact of the COVID regulations, and these are players, and staff that get tested twice a week, play, train, eat, albeit distance now, but used to get on 1 coach to go to a game. It's now 3 coaches to go on a game. So everything has changed. It's not just the turf culture side, and the training ground maintenance side. It's the whole aspect of football, and you can only hope that next season we return to some kind of what we remember, and that being back to full stadiums, to going out with your department at the end of weekend of the season, for some, just some fun again, really.
How are you keeping morale up during this? Because I guess you've got people that may not be seeing one another as much as they used to.
It's just making sure everyone's looking after each other. So, we do, we still have the regular team talks, albeit instead of being in the canteen now, they're reduced into smaller numbers, and trying to almost bring people out of their comfort zone and maybe sitting back, and now pushing themselves forward because it's a smaller group. And we've seen people develop within the department at an alarming rate, which is for the good of the business, and for the good of themselves as an individual.
And the industry as a whole, I guess, not just West Ham.
Yeah, and the industry needs it. The industry needs more bodies, and better people coming through it right now. And my head groundsman, on the 3 training grounds that we've got, each one of them has had to adapt to new challenges, new pressures, new ways to communicate, and everyone's really, I can't thank them enough, if I'm honest, Martin, because without them, we would be struggling right now.
I mean, this industry is all about people at the end of the day, as so many are. One of those issues that's out there is attracting, the next generation, or any generation, to be honest, into the industry. Have you got any thoughts on that?
I've spoke about this, I don't know how many times. I really don't know how many times. My last apprentices, one of them we found from a local secondary school, literally 400 or 500 yards from the first team's training ground. Mitchell, he's turned into a great individual, great human being, and he's 19-year-old. You sometimes forget that he's only 19. Started here 16, didn't have a clue, didn't understand anything. Played football like so many apprentices do, but then don't realise what goes into making a football pitch work, making a training venue work, making match day work. And he's now developed into a great human being, and a very, very competent groundsman. How do we get people like that back into it? That's the big, big challenge. And I think everyone's to blame, not just the industry. I think the schools are to blame. I think some of the individuals that we're trying to employ are to blame, because some of the youngsters of today, they come in and just think you earn this colossal amount of money because that's what the players earn.
Right, yeah.
I should be able to afford that because that's what a player earns. I'm doing 40 hours a week. A player's only doing, it's, you can't even get close to comparing. And they very much, they need to learn, go back to the basics. I think the college courses are they're set too high when the person starts going to college. You speak to the older generation of groundsmen, I've done a SPQ level 1. The course doesn't exist anymore. The old City and Guilds courses. And I think the colleges need to step back and bring it back to basics to then be able to teach a youngster, when I'm saying a youngster, 16-year-old, that literally knows nothing. They come out of school with GCSEs, they don't know how to open a bank account. Yeah. And I think we need to strip everything right back and start again, right at the basics, and get it correct.
It's about learning how to, conduct your life as well as, build a career. And I guess, the kind of skills that you want them to develop probably should be honed over a number of years rather than condensed, or a bigger number of years, rather than trying to, get them running before they can walk. Is that your kind of...
I agreed with the way the colleges looked at it needs to be more work-based training. I agree with that. Colleges can't afford the equipment that we're blessed with, the fertilizer programs we're blessed with, the quality of pitches now. You look at the cost of a hybrid pitch. A college can't have that as their school, the college playing field that you go and learn on, you go and learn to mark on. But then the college can't teach you how to maintain these surfaces. Yeah. So that needs to be done in the workplace. But the head groundsman, and quite often the 2, 3, 4 lads below the head groundsman, the pressure levels that we sit under now are too high to spend hour after hour teaching the student exactly what each thing means, exactly what each product will do, what a lighting rig now does, what fans now do. You look at the technology at Tottenham's new stadium. Yeah. You could never learn that apart from being hands-on. Now, even a very experienced groundsman going in there, yes, he's got the experience of how to manage turf. Does he have any experience, right, how to manage turf in the dark? You look at the people that are growing pitches in winter now. You go back 20 years, even, it was 8 weeks was closed season. Now we're in 5 weeks. Now we're renovating in the dark. Now we're renovating in winter. Now, again, I use Tottenham. He's maintaining a pitch underground that you can barely get to. I've never been, so no doubt Darren will phone and moan about me saying it. But it's every point of the trade has evolved at such a speed. How do you explain that to a youngster coming out of school? This is what you could be involved in. And you look at the London Stadium, and I've spoke to the club about this on many an occasion, of what is the best way to do this. So you take the London Stadium, 60,000 people in the stadium. What is the impressionable age of the people we want to get in the trade? And how do we engage in that impressionable age without trying to just get the fan that wants to be close to the players? And that's the difficult part, because the players are just people. They're the same as me and you. We'll have the conversation with them, exact same. But as an impressionable teenager, suddenly speaking to the captain of West Ham United, it can phase them. And it's not all about chatting to the players, getting a signed shirt, getting a signed ball, getting there's a lot of work that comes before those perks come.
How do you do that then, Dougie? Have you got the answer?
No, and I honestly believe, Martin, that groundsmen, the senior groundspeople in the country, whether it's in football, golf, horse racing, I don't believe now we should all be grouping together to try and find the answer. We've discussed, your summits and so on. We've discussed what's the best way. We all come up with great ideas. The way I tend to work now, we write to individual schools within the area, and we offer, can we come in on a careers night? Can we, and just present, this is what we do. Can we have a chat? Can we get a little bit closer to the careers advisor? Can we speak to a handful of students? You can handpick the students. And I think the schools now, the way the education system works is you're bound till 18 years old that you're in education.
Yeah.
How many groundsmen and realistically, you could do a poll on this. How many groundsmen have got, yeah, an A or a B, yeah, in maths, English, so on and so on. The majority of us have learned on the trade as that 16-year-old, and learn more about science and the biology of plant, being on the job rather than sitting in a classroom. So are we looking at the wrong type of people now? Yeah, that the schools are desperate to hold on to them because of funding. Do we need to try and get back to that basic apprenticeship of starting again at 16 years old and starting very, very slowly and building them up? Do we need better links with the schools to develop, to almost give the classroom and then try and get a groundsman to go into the classroom? I'm not saying that by any stretch we can teach the student how to do the work, but we could give them a better insight, I think, than giving them a book and go and study on the internet what that disease will mutate into, what a plant that's grown in a greenhouse that doesn't look anything like what it does in the real world. And that part, I think, we need to be looking at more.
Most of the guys I speak to, and I speak to a fair few guys from different areas, if I would say the vast majority of them got their interest through some kind of works experience placement. Okay. Are you active on that front, Dougie, with the schools?
Yeah, it's difficult. Obviously, we've done nothing now for the last year. We've not allowed anyone in the training grounds. But yeah, we often take students in. I'm a great believer, Martin, that a work experience and an apprentice, they should be no more than a bike ride from their place of work, one bus journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be as close to their house. 20-minute traveling. That's more than enough for someone as a youngster to try and work out his times. Can he get to work on time? Yeah. Can he do it in all weathers? Can he? And even I much prefer employing people in the winter rather than summer. Because if they get through the winter, they get through the wet, dark, horrible days, you've got a better chance of them surviving, and continuing in the trade. Because it's not all about wearing shorts and enjoying it in the summer. It's a tough job. And you take the geographical position of where we are against, Mick up at Newcastle. There's a higher chance he's going to suffer snow than what the southeast of the country is. The lads in Manchester, Dave up at Liverpool. So just in that geographic positioning, yeah, I think you can change what the student wants and what to expect.
How are you finding actually getting hold of young talent, or finding people that you've been successful, or have you got a high attrition rate?
We've done okay, and we're looking again now for an apprentice to come in. We've done several meetings at secondary school, the same school, ironically, that Mitchell came from. Done a presentation of what we do, what we are, what football is, and just try to engage with students that way. The club set up a Zoom call with the Women's Academy, the West Ham Academy, and we sat and explained roles and what is expected of people on a daily basis, what the job entails on a daily basis. And one of the hard parts, again, the apprenticeship scheme, as under 18, yeah, they must have 2 days clear off a week. Yeah, so football's mostly a weekend.
Yeah.
Not many 16 to 18-year-olds are going to want to take a Tuesday and a Wednesday off. Yeah, because their mates are, still at school or they're at work, or so again, you've got that challenge that they miss so much of what they can learn at a weekend when it is probably less pressure outside match day, and you can spend that little bit more time with them, giving them quality time to explain what the trade is.
And if you're looking for something in somebody, what's the bit that tips them over the edge for you in terms of, I'll give you a try?
You've got to see a spark in them. You've got to see them be a light in that one part that you've said to them is just got them, and they've thought, yeah, I need to know more about this. And it's so difficult now. It really is difficult. And mobile phones, probably the biggest problem. And you see people sitting on a machine, they're maybe just waiting on something finishing off, or one of the younger lads waiting to get on the pitch to repair it, and out comes the phone again, and quick check of social media, quick check of, and it's that part. And it's easy to turn around and say, ban the phone. You must lock them away, or you must do. It's not as easy as that, because they're so renowned in society now. And it's such a communication tool that you just can't do it without a bigger argument taking place.
And they're being used for the job as well. There's lots of kit that's being adjusted, controlled by apps on the phone now.
It's funny, because whether what make of phone you've got, you've always got a weather app on it. There's always that little thing. You can be out, sitting with your wife and the kids, and suddenly you hear the rain against the window, and already you're distracted because I wasn't expecting that. I didn't see that coming. I should have done this before I left work, or I should have brought this forward. And I think that just goes for everyone. You get the irrigation controllers on your phone now. People wherever they are in the country, suddenly, I'll just turn somebody's just messaged it's raining, left the program on. You just can't escape work anymore. It's a 24 hours a day job that's, if you're not physically on site, you're suddenly looking on the phone at something to double check something at work.
That's got some upsides. Mental health wise, I'm sure it's got some downsides, but it might have some mental health upsides as well, to be frank, because you haven't got to worry about stuff. Oh, I've got that under control. I don't have to wait till Monday or whenever. Yeah.
Again, the subject you're on there, man, God, that's a complex one. I don't know the best way around to speak about it. Again, the club put us on continual training courses, continual information, continual just snippets of what to look for, how do you report, how do you manage, how do you and being in charge of a group of staff. This is across the board for everyone, regardless what business you're in. You've got your own kids and family indoors. You've suddenly got another family that's extended 20-fold at work, and every one of those members of staff have got their own problem, their own issue, and leading the department, ultimately, you're there as support for them as well, because sometimes they just want to chat and discuss where do they go, what do you think, what do you recommend, what do you and often that's because you or the person they're speaking to has got no contact to the person that they're discussing, so it's an easy discussion for them to have, and it's important that you're there for them.
Do you get the support to support them at West Ham?
Yeah, no, we're very good. We're well supported. The HR department. There's different mentors in and around the club that have been trained to a different level that you can go and speak to. But also on that, as I touched on earlier, I've got another 19 grounds managers in this position. Well, more than that now. And again, you can pick the phone up to them, have a moan, and they don't know the situation, but they're on the phone to take that conversation. And likewise, I've been on the phone for them, and other people in the trade as well, because everyone struggled at some point just to, well, who can I have a grizzle to, more than anything, and everyone deals with it differently.
Dougie, one of the things that I'm interested in is how well prepared the guys are in your situation to take on that role as manager. I think you've all got absolute skills in terms of looking after the turf. When you make that transition to be the head guy, do you think there's more needs to be done across the industry? I'm not talking about necessarily you individually, to help people manage budgets, manage staff, etc.
Yeah, I think again as a club, we've done many training courses to increase staffing levels, staffing inside knowledge, Um, and could more be done? Yeah, of course it could. We spoke earlier, technology. I'm 43 years old. I should understand technology a lot more than I do. Um, you still get the problem with a computer or your phone, or and you give it to your kids to go and fix. That's life now. And I think that one of the biggest parts I've learned in the job is communication, and how to communicate, what people to communicate to. You don't listen to every person, you listen to the key people within that department. You listen to the odd whisper about, oh, that pitch is maybe a little bit firm, and then you look at the position of the player. Think, I'll maybe speak to another player that may have a little bit more understanding, or can give me some more knowledge of when they felt the pitch going firm, or if it was a little bit unstable, was it too wet, too dry, and it's that part I think you need to learn, and I think they come as individual life skills, Martin, rather than sitting in a room and being taught or dictated to how to manage that, because everyone's different. And again, you need to look at the off the cuff comments about a playing surface against, was it genuine? Was it something else? Was it something had gone on during the game or during the training session that threw that comment up? And they're the parts that you can't learn in a book, or sit in the classroom. And also when you're sitting in a training course, we've all been out of education for that long. Suddenly you start counting the tiles on the roof. You're trying to look at the phone because you've heard you've felt it vibrate or a message come through, and you're thinking, I should be at work. I should be back doing something else. So you just pick it up, and you'd like to think that your deputies, they're picking those skills up on the way as well, and listening to your conversations as you're discussing with a member of staff, or maybe I don't want to use the word discipline and staff, but just bringing people back in because something's not been right. And you've maybe got to have that stronger conversation rather than a laughing and joking conversation, because an off-the-cuff comment possibly meant a little bit more than it did at the time.
When you're chatting to the other guys, what's the main topic of conversation at the moment? Is there a particular issue that's coming up?
Renovation and holidays, and who can go on holiday and who can't. That's a favourite right now, and and also, are people are allowed to go on holiday this year? Where can they go? What is the restrictions for them then coming back into the workplace? So they are the big ones right now. When's the season fully end for every age group? Not just because in football, everyone looks at the first team, right? And that's the whole. That's the conversation. That's society. That's the back page of the newspapers. No one looks at, where's the 15s this week? What pitch are we going to get them on? They're now playing on a Monday, so we've got this extra session they're thrown in on Sundays. We've had, as a football club, we've had 1 3:00 kickoff in a year, and that goes into back end of last season. So, you're getting told now the fixture list changes 2 weeks prior to a match. So everything changes, to run with that. The only game that's set in stone, I think, is the last game of the season. What the kickoff time and the end of the season. You're already looking forward to August when the season starts, because you work, right, that's August, so then pre-season starts here. But your traditional pre-season's already changed because the team can't go away on the different tours, etc., because of COVID restrictions. So everything changes. How quickly do you renovate one pitch? Will the weather be good enough, ready for this? So, we start our renovations mid-April. Weather's not favourable. And I think the last pitch will start getting renovated first week in June. So you're already on a huge long slog of hours to create that playing surface that you're judged on for the next year.
And next year, we've got a World Cup that isn't a summer World Cup, it's a winter World Cup. Is that going to impact on your role?
We've had enough information on it yet. Yes, it'll impact, definitely. And stadium groundsmen, it's another challenge for them trying to grow grass inside the stadiums now. Great big, high roofs. Man City just increased the height of the stadium a couple of years ago. Old Trafford, Lee at Millennium. You're growing grass in the dark. And yes, the technology is there with lights and undersoil heating and covers and so on and so on. My fear, Martin, is how far do we push this before somebody becomes a casualty because it's not worked? And unfortunately, that's going to come. It's going to come one day. And the people need to be realistic. The grass is a plant. Your bag of seed costs whatever. Yeah. So you put your 24 bags on, on a stripped pitch. Other people will be different. But you put the seed on, but then suddenly we want to play on it in 3 weeks' time. Yeah. Now, yes, we've got stabilized surface. Yes, we can do this. Yes, we can do that. But if you take a squad of players on the current value, should they be on a pitch after 3 weeks? Yeah, it's a big risk to put that player out for potentially half a season, because the grass wasn't strong enough to hold that player as he turned at that speed.
That's an interesting point, and I think the biomechanics and the safety of players has become more part of the groundsman's job over the last 5 or 6 years even.
Reece is originally at Arsenal. He's got a great program that comes out, can test your pitches, and we can have so much data surrounding us, but they still want to play football. Yeah. The pitch still needs to be ready. Yeah. So because the starting game of the season doesn't change. A training ground, yes, we're blessed. We've got X amount of pitches. You can rotate the different sessions. The stadium groundsmen can't. They have a fixture, and they have a fixture list, and they must make that fixture happen. And I do fear for them now. I really do fear for some of them, because it is dangerous. You then push that back to mental health. Again, it's a risk. How far do we keep pushing someone in the press? And we've all been guilty of it. You watch Match of the Day, you look at the pitches and think, oh, he's struggling maybe. Well, that one's not, that goalmouth's gone. Why has he got that patch? I think the more honest groundsman will phone the groundsman of that stadium up and ask, what's the problem? What's happened? Do you need anything? Do you need support?
You've obviously seen my gravel drive, Dougie. If there's a blight on the industry at the moment, or should we say on Turfcare at the moment, I think one of the problems that you're all facing is reduction in the tools that you've got to use, particularly with chemicals. You see that causing problems?
Huge problems, and I don't think we're getting the support that we require across the industry, from the government, and it's. You take Schaefer Grubbs leather jackets. Yes, there's emergency approval, golf, airports, horse racing. Now, they've all got the reason for the emergency approval. What about football, sports turf, rugby, all the private schools that have just gone back? These are people that are producing phenomenal surfaces, for just so that the private school. So as a parent drives in, they've just paid X amount of tens of thousands of pounds for their child to go to the school, and they've got a decimated front lawn that that should be nice and striped, and it's a big problem. Sports turf. I spoke with Alan Irvin, our first team coach, assistant manager, yesterday about it. We don't have an issue here, thankfully. But explaining to him, and this was a conversation about his garden. They had a problem, and I used that as an opportunity to then explain some of the problems that we could face if we had the same issue in his garden. That pitch is now off for X amount of months, until the problem can sort itself. You're going back to cultural methods, heavy rolling. I was sent pictures the other day of a club rugby ground, and the groundsman is basically begging for help. How do we do something? So, I'm very sorry, but there's nothing on the market that you can use. Please don't look at any other way. You just need to photograph, document, send it into the trade magazines, the governing bodies, and say, please, we need help. We've got a big problem here, and the problem's only going to get worse. I'm not one to turn around and say spray, put chemicals down. We barely spray a fungicide across our sites, but we do need help. And there's some pests, diseases, problems that you suffer that we do need that chemical. And again, I understand that bees and wildlife and birds and everything else is important as well. If we can work through a pandemic of putting football on people's TVs, then we need to find another way. Yeah, if it was that important for the country to watch football, what if we can't give a playing surface because the pitch has been too badly damaged? It becomes unsafe to continue to play. What happens then? Because it's the groundsman that will get it again. We've seen that in the country. And several groundsmen have suffered with a pitch and nematodes several years ago. Jim Dawson spoke about in a magazine quite openly, and the pressures that he struggled back then. Again, really difficult. And I went to see Jim when they had the problems, fortunately, the SRU did back him. They did replace the pitch. They did cleverly put the statement out to the press to say, we know we've got a problem. This is what we're doing. We can't do it yet. We need to manage our way through the Six Nations, and then we'll fix the problem.
Dougie, you obviously still got the buzz. You're a very passionate guy, and as ever, it's fascinating to talk to you. I'm glad we finally done it on camera, and I hope to catch up with you real soon, person to person, and share a few more conversations.
Thank you very much, Martin. Appreciate it.